Now, for someone who's as young as me, or for someone who's young like me, this car should give them the most fun. Personally, this gives me the most thrill, the most excitement. What is equally important to understand is how you define the most fun aspect of a car. And I believe a car that can satisfy all your senses, or rather your sensory organs. So you have your eyes, your nose, your ears, you have your hands. So basically what you've got is the touch and feel, the feedback, the communication that the car gives you, the visual, the visceral language of a car, the sound, the smell. So when all these parameters or the aspects of car are in complete sync, what you experience is sheer driving pleasure in a lot of ways. This is also a way of finding out how good the quality of a car is. So let's just find out, shall we? Let's just go. Now, Ford literally created the subcompact SUV segment with the Ecosport, and soon this vehicle turned out to be a runaway success, as some variants had 9 months of waiting period. Other companies soon realized the potential of this segment and they quickly launched new products. At the same time, the older Ecosport lost its bite as competitors came up with new and improved features. Now, this is an all-new Ford Ecosport which was launched in 2017. Now, in spite of sharing same platform with the older generation, this car does have some important design and mechanical changes. Now, as an aside, this is my personal car. This was given to my brother and I by my father, and that is why I'm going to analyze this car in a slightly different way, and I'm going to tell you why this is my favorite car at the moment. Now, coming to my earlier point about satisfying your visual senses, the exterior design of this generation has what led me to absolutely fall in love with this car. So the initial attraction was the looks, and there's a saying that beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. So for me personally, this is one good looking car. Now let me be a bit objective over here. So let's talk about the front design. I like this newly designed headlamps. It is short and simple. They haven't extended this till over here. It would have been very convenient for them to do that. It has got DRLs and projector headlamps, so it goes well with this big trapezoidal chrome grille, and it reminds me of Mustang in many ways, very mean looking. Now it has got this newly designed front bumper which is wider looking. It has got new housing for the fog lamps, And all in all, it looks very muscular, and this newly designed front bumper along with the front bonnet gives it a very chiseled dynamic stance, and so it does look a lot more purposeful and prominent, and this generation looks a lot more premium than the older generation. Let's move on to the side. This is one good looking car, I'm telling you right now. What is equally impressive is that there are no squeaks or rattles in this car. The tough build quality is one of the hallmarks of EcoSport. What I also like is the fact that the doors feel slightly heavy, and it gives me a feeling that I'm in something that is made out of thicker grade of steel than the average mass market car, which is a great feeling to have, by the way. Now, as one moves to the side and eventually to the rear, it becomes very clear that not much has changed in this. Now, this is a titanium variant, so it gets 16-inch alloy wheels. Personally, this is the best for the ride quality. In higher variants like Titanium Plus and S variant, you get 17-inchers. Although they are good for handling, they are really not suitable for Indian roads. Now, this car manages to retain 200 mm of ground clearance, so this can be used in our pothole-ridden roads. But is it any good in these conditions? We'll find that out later. So overall, the design is very appealing. It manages to retain that SUV appeal without having a boxy body, and that has to be its main appeal. Although I would have preferred if they would have given some kind of differentiation at the side and at the back when compared to the older generation. Because anyway, this car came late to the party and the competitors are really strong in this segment. But overall, this is a design that can last for another 4-5 years, unlike Marutis and Hyundais. It's a fact. Now, the same story applies to the back. Nothing changes over here, to the naked eye. Now, I like this tail lamp. This has become identifiable and synonymous with the EcoSport. That really happens with cars at this segment. Also, you have got the spare wheel that sits over here. Now, to the layman, this will look the same as the outgoing model, but there are few changes. This is an all new bumper, and you've got a sleeker looking rear wiper. So what they have done is really subtle changes, and that works with this car. Now, I'm a big fan of this tail lamp design. It is extremely neat and tidy. They have nicely integrated a sensor door handle in this. Just look at this. Thoughtful, isn't it? Sensors are now placed on the inside surface of the door handle. Simply walk up to the car with the key fob in your pocket, grab the door handle and open the door. On doing this, the ORVMs fold out automatically as well. Now, getting into this car is extremely easy. I do like what Ford has done with this version of the EcoSport. But more than anything else, I do like this new touchscreen infotainment system. But before we dive into this, let's talk about the layout and interiors in general. This is all black with, they have sprinkled silver accents a bit here and there, which looks a bit evolved and European. But to few, it may look a bit bland. But for me, it just works. You've got a nicely built steering wheel. It has got everything. You've got ABS and EBD as standard across all variants. Now, this is a leather wrap. You've got everything on the steering wheel. And see, one of the things that a driver notices when he steps inside a car is the speedometer. Now, I have read a lot of reviews about this, and a lot of people haven't really liked this. And I can understand them, because in today's day and age where every car manufacturer is coming up with full or partial digital systems, Ford has gone back to the old way. They have gone back to the analog way, and this to me looks like they have been inspired by the late 90s or the early 2000s car, which is a good thing, because again, this is so simple and easy to understand. Because in a lot of today's cars, the kind of information and the amount of information you're getting is just so chaotic and complicated that you don't know what to make of it. So this is just great. This works for me, and it has been nicely done. Now, I don't know why they have done this. They may have done it for cost-cutting purposes or for the design purpose. But for me, this just works again. Now, the interior layout is extremely practical. It is feature-rich. You've got all kinds of things over here. You've got so many cubby holes. Over here I've kept my phone. You've got cubby spaces over here. You can place bottles over here. You have got 2 USB ports over here. So one can be used to juice up your phone. The other one can be used as a USB. It's a great thing to have. You can house 1 to 2 liter bottles over here. Again, everything is just so nice. One of the plus points about Ecosport is the interior is exclusive to the Ecosport, whereas in a lot of other car manufacturers, they are shared. A lot of components are shared. In this car also, a lot of components are shared. But this is very exclusive, is very much exclusive to this, and that's what makes it so good. You've got climate control over here. So yeah, everything just works over here. It's just good. One of the highlights of the interiors of the Ecosport is this newly designed touchscreen infotainment display. This has got everything you need. You have got navigation, you have got phone, radio, audio, etc. The fit and finish is nice. The way it has been placed, it is easier for me to take a glance at it while I'm driving. So it is nicely put together. The responsiveness is great. If you don't want to use the touchscreen, you can use the buttons over here. For me, this is the best in segment. I haven't really used the Hyundai Creta one or the one which is there in the Venue, but it will be judged on the basis of this car because this is the benchmark. Now, in terms of the plastic quality, this is hard plastic. It is hard plastic everywhere, but it is nicely bolted together. It is nicely put together, and that is why I have overlooked this flaw of the Ecosport, because look at this. There are no rattles, no squeakiness, no stuttering. It is, it can't get better than this in terms of putting an interior together. So it is robust in that sense, and it is feature rich. Everything is packed. You name it, you have it in this. In terms of the seating position, it is not like a crossover. It gives you that SUV feel, and yeah, so this is all great. Now let's talk about the door pads. Now this is identical to the older generation in terms of design, but there are a few key changes in terms of the placement of buttons. So for example, the button to operate ORVMs used to be over here. Now they have brought it over here, and the central locking buttons have been carried over from Endeavour, which is a good thing because any feature that has been brought from higher variants or higher cars to lower cars, it's always a good thing to have. Now in terms of the design and fit and finish, I would say this is better than S-Cross, Hyundai Creta, Brezza, all these different cars, because this is robust. As you can see, you have got a lot of cubby holes, spaces over here. You can house 1 to 2 liter bottles. It's all good thing to have. One of the major gripes for me is the use of hard plastics. Now this is one of the higher variants, but yet you don't get any cushioning system, like you don't have any leather or some kind of foam. Maybe in higher variants you get that, but this is a 12-13 lakh rupee car. They should be giving some kind of cushioning system. So that's about it. One of the things I do not like about the door pads is the plastic quality. Just look at this. This is one area where they can improve. Now, a lot of people have problem with the back seat of Ecosport, but I'm here to prove people wrong because it is not that bad. So let's just check it out. Just look at this, how easy it is to get inside the car. Number one. Then what you have is, for your height reference, I am 5'6", and there is ample amount of headroom over here. And yeah, the under thigh support is great, surprisingly. You've got good reclining angle, and then you've got good position of the headrest. So this is really comfortable. Now Ford likes to call this a 5-seater, but I would say 4 people can sit in absolute comfort in this. You've got a center armrest over here. Now there are 2 places where this car lacks in terms of the back seat comfort. One is the legroom space. Now I have positioned this seat according to my height reference, which is 5'6". If a taller driver comes in, then this is going to come a bit behind. Yeah. So otherwise, and the second thing is, you don't have rear AC vents. But do you actually need rear AC vents? Because this is a compact car. This is essentially a 4-seater. So these are nitpickings, by the way. But in terms of purely backseat comfort, this is a comfortable place to be in. Just look at this. I'm really comfortable, and yeah, so this is good. Also, I have sat in Hyundai Creta, Hyundai Venue, Maruti S-Cross, and they are not as comfortable as this car. No doubt about that. Now let's talk about the boot space, shall we? Now this opens up automatically. It has got a good mechanism, so it has a nice dam to it. Now I'm not going to get into the stats of the boot space because for me it's more visual, more visceral, and because I have seen a lot of car boots in the past, I have an understanding of what works and what doesn't. And especially with this car, with my own experience, I have traveled on long distance journeys along with my family, and this has been great. You can't really complain, and at this price point it can't get better than this. Sure, you can nitpick, but I think this is fine. You don't have to nitpick over here. You do have a nicely shaped boot. They have carved out over here to add more space, and you've got a parcel tray. This is not that tall, so all these are good things to have, by the way. So this is great. Now, this car comes with 2 engine options. The car we will be reviewing today is the 1.5 litre diesel engine. It makes around 100 bhp and 205 Nm of torque. Now, this diesel engine has always been a strong performer, but with the new version they have done smaller tweaks to it, and that has made it even more drivable. And it comes with 5-speed manual, so it's a good balance of power and fuel efficiency. Now, let's talk about the driving dynamics of this car, because it is one of the selling points of Ecosport. It is just so good to drive. Firstly, the steering wheel is good to hold, and it is precise, it is communicative, it gives you a lot of feedback, and you feel like you're driving a much more expensive car, a much more premium car, because of the refinement levels of this. The other thing is, with the newer generation, they have done some play with the center of this car, and because of that it is not as precise as the older generation, and it is pretty evident when you drive this car in narrow lanes, tight corners, when you're trying to park this car in tighter lanes. But overall, when you try to compare it, it is not that noticeable. But what they've tried to do is they've tried to find a balance between comfort and extreme handling, and even in spite of doing all of that, this is by far the best handling SUV by a margin. Now when it comes to transmission, again, this is a 5-speed manual, and I would say this is the pick of the lot, because the way this transmission has been synchronized with the engine, it just gives you that kind of pleasure. You can never get tired driving this car. Now once you'll drive the Ecosport for a while, you'll notice that the suspension setup has been softened up a bit, and that's actually a good thing. While the older Ecosport did feel a bit harsh while going over big potholes, the new one is more comfortable. Also, what is helping the ride quality in this variant are these 16-inchers. In Titanium Plus and S variant, you get 17-inch alloy wheels. Bumps are now soaked in much better, keeping in the occupants comfortable. Best thing is there is hardly any compromise with the handling due to the softer setup. And that is why maneuvering the Ford Ecosport in the city is easy, thanks to its compact dimensions and also the different driving aids such as parking sensors and reverse camera. Overall, the interior has been given an impressive update, as not only the surroundings have become more comfortable, the tech has got smarter too. The storage spaces have been well designed. The only place where this car falls behind is the rear space. Now this could be bothersome for taller occupants. However, I would like to reiterate that the backseat comfort is one of the best in the segment. Now mechanically, it's superior to most rivals. Driving dynamics, looks, comfort, power, it has got it all. So it satisfies all my senses, and this new generation EcoSport will have the same effect on you as well. Now Ford claims that the EcoSport has got 85% of localization, which means that the maintenance cost is one of the lowest in the segment, and therefore the Ford EcoSport comes across as a really good package and a strong contender. Coming to a broader perspective, cultures are deep-rooted, and ours is something that has been borrowed and twisted to suit local needs, taste. What intrigues me the most is we Indians are more concerned about the features and the value for money proposition a car provides, and are least bothered about a sophisticated design with good build quality and good inner package. To me, it should be equal if not the opposite. A cheap dash is good as long as the chrome grille in front looks sharp enough. And this is not to suggest that the general population likes outlandish design, but we like to play it safe. And companies such as Hyundai, Maruti, Honda, they just provide that. You don't see flashy designs because that doesn't resonate well with the societal values we possess. And it doesn't bode well with the resale value of our car as well. Now, what Ford has tried to do with this EcoSport is to introduce us to an evolved taste and raw power. However, this has been restricted to a selected few. And I'm fully aware that this car hasn't made the impact that a Maruti Suzuki Brezza has made. But with this new refreshed version, the future road for EcoSport looks really smooth. So that is my verdict on this car. That's about it.